Welcome to the BXG Podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet.
You think it's just going to be barbecue sauce?
Because if you actually read those books, it's just gobbledygook.
I really think clothes should be mandatory.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Captain America.
trailer reaction video. What else is going on here? Yeah, PBC, episode 4. Shawty's an accountant, and Hunter and Sarah are still working through their feelings towards each other. Well, I think it's less that Sarah is working through her feelings and more that Hunter's working through his, but it's making it difficult that Makayla and Rico are a thing now. And she's now apparently all on board with this production line and everything. Her character is going weird places this season, but I like it.
I love it.
Meanwhile, on the other side of things, in this episode, you have Sarah reuniting with her BFF Lindsay, played by Emily Tosda, and them kind of trying to navigate this bizarre relationship that they don't actually have. And there's some pretty bizarre things about waiting for genetics tests to come back or DNA tests to come back. And you have Jamie with his writer's scarf on.
Yes.
And the love pentagram. So was that in this episode? Yeah.
That was not. No, I thought that.
No, that okay. Yeah, you're right. I think.
All right.
Yeah. But he vaguely hits on Hunter.
He vaguely, yeah.
I mean, Hunter's trying to recruit everybody to go to kosher karaoke.
Kosher karaoke, yeah.
And it's a whole thing. But you just can't play these two songs too close together. So
once again, just another crack of the bat home run. This show, I think so far, and we'll get into the next episode too, this show makes me laugh harder than it should. When you think about that, it's a comedy about accounting, and like the Office was a comedy about a paper company, and it made me laugh very hard too.
Yeah.
So there is the idea of something very boring but making you laugh. But the way that this show does it is almost like a slow burn to where once the fire goes, it's a raging wildfire in a very dry area and you can't stop. And this episode had that to some degree. And I really love, like you said, once it came up that they had to take a test to make sure that they weren't related.
Yeah, Marty and Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah. I was dying. And she's like, well, I kind of was doing some checking and and she goes through like the whole thing. And you're like, well, you're definitely related. It's kind of the idea, but like she's just trying anything she can. And
sure.
It's so funny. And also Lindsay's character, like she's starting to really be like a thing where so straight, not any, no catchphrase, nothing like that, but just like matter of fact. But also like, I'm just going to be with Hunter because it makes her mad.
Right.
And
very Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Sort
it's
of,
so perfect.
Yeah.
And the show is just, you and I have talked about this before, but the idea of this show, and I hate to say it like this, just being on YouTube is sad because I'd like to see what other comedies are like, I don't know, maybe this is what they're trying to do too. Like we had Jessica on the show and we're going to hopefully have a couple other people, on, we like to think we're the PBC podcast at this point with these kind of things, but we're really huge stands. But the idea of that.
Listen, I've told you before, the only stan I am is Lee.
That's true. That's true.
Continue.
But It's just so funny and it's so fast. Even the episodes are longer this season.
Yep. They're all pretty close to about
longer.
half hour. Yeah.
It's a normal sitcom length now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if somebody doesn't want to pick this up, I would just like to know why. And if not, can I invest? So when it does, like, I can make that bank, because this is definitely funnier than most things. I mean, I watch Abbott Elementary, and that's really, really funny. I will 100% say that is really, really funny. But this show is not less funny than Abbott Elementary, you know, and other shows just seem like, I don't know. I try watching stuff and it doesn't really work. So I'd like to know what the difference is. But yeah, this episode was great. I'll be honest, this episode was great, but I know we're going to get into the fifth, which when we get into that, I have a lot to say about that. So what are your thoughts on this episode, Brian?
This was another, like you said, another very good episode. I think that there's something about the Jamie character, man. I just feel like the show's not about him, but he is the glue that holds it together at this point. And I think the only thing that I'm really missing from this season is like a really good Danny Trejo episode. And I know I'm sure his availability is, you know, whatever, and he's not in it that much. They just pepper him in here and there. And I think part of it is the elusiveness of Ricky the janitor is what makes him special. But, you know, he had in the first episode where he breaks down talking about like romance and nice restaurants and how it's all just, you know, for naught or whatever. It just slayed me. And I feel like he needs to have one good zinger left in him this season. We only have
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, this is like
don't you save him for the end though? I mean, like, if you're gonna get so many episodes a year, you save him for that last episode.
Yeah. Maybe it feels like there's a lot of loose threads to pull on, and we can talk about them more when we get in episode 5. But yeah, I mean, this was another banger, and I've just come to really like these characters so much. And the other thing is that they use the sort of mid-credit insertion of like a song or a video or whatever. It's just it's masterful.
It's so good.
And when they work these like this music video in at the end of this one, where it's really Hunter's song, but he's just getting cut out of it the whole time because of Makayla and her quest for whatever at this point. Her character's off the rails, and I think it even goes a little bit deeper in the next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would say this was the thing about this episode, really, is like it is becoming a show where like there are obviously main characters,
right?
But they don't care. Like it's a show where like everyone kind of can be a main character, has like a certain thing, because Makayla, like you said, is off the rails.
Yeah.
But like it's hilarious. It's so like the way that she is, and like you said, this next episode we get into is so off the rails with her. Because she was someone that mattered in the first season, but she was a background character. Now her character, when she comes on, it actually is something, and it's just her. Like it's nothing out. We don't even know what she does. We also don't know what this company does, which I love. How that's also a factor that is so funny. I love that. So
very good episode. I thought it set up the next episode.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It was made for this.
Yeah. So we'll move on to episode 5.